and welcome back to the show. 2006 Volkswagen Jetta 2.5 liter MK5 model. It's actually a mid-production, so even though they're labeled 2006, this car specifically was made mid-year 2005. So there are some differences with it if it was stock based off of the actual 2006 and later models, such as the air filter inside had a notch across it that the 2006 models didn't have. Of course, a lot of components on this car have been replaced to make it more, as my son would say, vroomy, to the delight of my neighbors. And it's been a good car. I've had it since, 2006, so we're coming up on math. Almost 20 years. So at 17 right now, 17, 18, 19, 20, yeah, 17 years, and she's ran really good for a lot of those years. Traveled the world with me. I've taken her to the UK, is obviously seen by that European plate there, but other countries as well. Never had any real motor transmission issues, fingers crossed. Continue to do my own maintenance and will not have those issues. But I have, right around the, 10, after the 10-year point, things started to, show their age. The first thing that went was the headliner, which I've pulled out the fabric, but I haven't replaced it yet. And then some other suspension components and stuff. Wheel bearings, CV axles, things that are relatively simple if you got the right tools and the know-how to replace, but nothing too significant. This, as it's been an older car, is starting to be the gift that keeps on giving as far as small things here and there that are breaking down, with the latest one being a little more significant. I'll go ahead and show you. So you might not have heard that, but this door lock here is super weak. That one as well gets a little bit sticky, but it did unlock. You can hear the pump priming up, but let's lock it back. Okay, no beeping sound. That's not blinking, it's just staying on. So you can see why this would be an issue for me, especially given that it's not always parked in my lovely garage here. It's, parked wherever I need to park, traversing to work or needing to run a few errands. Car's not in the best cosmetic condition anymore because of its age. You can see a lot of the clear coat is worn off, especially on as air is channeled down the side over the roof. But not a whole lot of things I can complain about. Wife's car parks to the left side of me, and the kids have decided to swing the door open on several occasions and dented it, but just kind of is what it is. But yeah, we're going to see if we can repair outright the mechanism in here that supports the lock, and hopefully not have to replace it. Now, I don't recommend following this video as a step-by-step how-to. I'm liable to forget how to disassemble this door. In full disclosure, I have had to take this off before and replace the mechanism inside of here with an aftermarket. I think I got off of Amazon or something. But at least watch the video through its entirety, so if I make a misstep, you can at least identify that by watching the video and then adjust to the appropriate order of things. But with that being said, we have to get this front panel off. I can't remember if I've got to pop out this and work the handle first, or if I need to take this off to assess some things. We'll find out here in a second. But this will need to come off, and it's going to expose some bolts that use a Torx bit. You can see them running all along down the side through here, as well as the bottom. You can see them up underneath there. And then if I was to lift this, you can see that they run up the side here as well. But that's the first step, is to get all these removed. And then, you know, probably better to use a hand tool, you know, manual tool, screwdriver. But I'm just gonna use this guy to get them out quick, fast, and in a hurry. But yeah, I'm gonna get this off and then get the bolts removed. Panel's off pretty easy. You can see you have these pop style rivets that go down into the inside of it. Of course, the bottom one's broken. I can't remember when I did that. I've had this panel off more than once to address different things over the years. You can see the holes that they go into, no big deal. What I suggest is, if when you're prying, if you use a pry tool, to start at a corner and then you're going to pry out like this, working your way up. Don't just pull from the bottom, because that's probably how I'll snap the bolt, but it also causes that panel to flex too much and you could potentially break it. Given the age of this vehicle, plastics aren't as durable as they were when it was first made, so they're starting to get stiff and a little bit brittle. But with that out, I'll start removing these bolts. Okay, got about 18, I guess a more appropriate term, stub bolts and screws, but they're removed. You can see that there's some physical differences between the sides. The sizes, with the side panel ones having a much larger washer, bottom ones do not have that big washer. But as well as the taper, you can see that these here have a tapered end, these here have a flush end. But the top ones on both sides have a tapered end. Do not get them mixed up, their placement, or you're going to end up stripping a hole or something along that line, or causing damage. So I actually made that mistake and then had to figure out which ones went where, which cost me time. But those are out, and so this guy is now loose. I'll navigate over to the front. Alright, and you can physically see here that it's loose. There's a bit of flex in it, but I can't take it out just yet, 'cause what I was thinking, I think I need to pop this off, which I'll just use a plastic pry tool to pop this plastic cover around our keyhole, our lock here. And I think there's a kind of like a spring-loaded tab that goes to this door handle here. Yeah, you can kind of see it right there. But that has to come out of socket, and then this can be removed, and we should be able to then take the front panel free. Disregard the prying on this for a second. There's actually a little device in there with another Torx bit head that's got to be turned counterclockwise. Now this isn't fully removed, it's just turned counterclockwise, and then I think that loosens this up, and then we could take it out. Okay, so yeah, we are talking about a T20 Torx bit. It's a couple turns. Yeah, we see that's gotten looser. Okay, so gave you a warning, and probably for a good reason. You're probably better off leaving the side bolts in on this door panel first before trying to remove this. I had to put one back in just to keep this from wiggling around so much. But with that guy loosened, now like I said, you don't turn it all the way counterclockwise because it kind of locks itself back down again. You can see I've got this pulled out, but you essentially lift up on the handle a little bit and then you should be able to start sliding this out. Depending on the age, it might be a little rougher to get out. You can see there's a lot of grime on this, so I'll get it cleaned up. So hopefully I don't have that big of an issue in the future. But there goes your lock cylinder. It is out. Set that to the side. And then the next thing we have to do is this cable right here needs to come out. This is a cable that actually pulls on the lock to open up this guy right here, so your door can swing open, but the cable has to come off and then the handle can come off. Fairly simple thing. Hold on one second. That's just going to go in here and it'll be used to pry this little piece right here upwards. See, will light help? Yeah, there we go. You can see that kind of move out there, but it's best to pull this out a bit and then work it. Because it's a two-handed thing, I'm gonna come off camera and get it taken. And then this right here is fairly simple. You can determine how it's fed inside and then swivel it out in the right direction to pull it out. Now if you find yourself stuck with the door handle getting it removed, you can see how this kind of feeds into there, goes in, swings over, etc. Don't just do in and out movement, okay? This guy actually needs to, let me pull it out, needs to move out this way. So slide it towards the end of the door and then you can start pulling it out. Alright, I can't remember if this needs to come out, if this is a part of a bracket that stays on the door, but I'm going to remove it anyways, then take the panel off and let you know. But I think, if not stating the obvious about not remembering things, I think this has to come off. So, alright, that's off. I'll remove this bolt. We'll see if we can get this outside panel off. Okay, yeah, it did need to come off. This needs to remain. Need to get this out of the way. There's just a single rubber band. Be careful not to lose that. And that slides out and you can set it off to the side. Here's what we actually need to ooh, just saw a little plastic piece fall. Wonder what that came from. Hopefully nothing too serious. Anyways, this is what we need to get out next. We got a connector down here. There's a little tab on the back, but mine was obviously not seated all the way in. I was able to just pull on it. Might have been part of the issue. But I think it's just these two bolts right here, and we should be able to remove this as an entire unit. A couple things I want to mention before removing those bolts. When you're taking that outside panel off, it's probably best to have two people. And because see, the thing is when you pop it out, that panel still sits in this groove in here, so that's a pinching point. If you pull out, you're liable to bend it. So it's probably best to hold it in place and close your door a bit, or as much as possible, without fully shutting it. And then you know, have somebody stand on this side while you work the panel here, or two people out front working to pop the panel off without pinching and folding it right there. As far as these bolts are concerned, what you actually need is what are called triple square head bolts. This 12-piece set I think I bought online years ago. But you're looking for a CR6, yeah, and then use a socket set and should be able to get them out from there. Now, for those of you who've never worked on a European car, you've probably not run into these type of screws or bolts before with triple square heads on them. There is a proper and improper technique to removing these bolts. When you insert the actual triple square head into your screw or bolt, it's probably always ensure that you're fully unseated, like all the way down. If you have to wrap on the back side with a mallet or something, just a tad bit, not super hard, on your socket set to make sure it's fully seated. Because if you don't, now I didn't do this time, but I did this one of the previous times. See, I kind of rounded out the teeth on the inside. That's because I didn't have it fully seated in. That will happen with these bolts if your bit is not fully seated into the screw or bolt that you're removing. They're notorious for that. However, with the additional teeth, you can get more torque on them. So I believe that's why they're used. But yeah, just a little point of advice. When you're removing this from that assembly, take note that you have a tapered end here. Tapered or flanged or whatever you want to call it. So you have to turn it the correct way to pop it out of here. But now we have this out. I can shut the door. You can see it's not going to lock. It's impossible. Yeah, I'll clean out this stuff in here, but then we'll get this on the bench and get it taken apart, take a look at it. Alright, we've got it up on the bench. Let me zoom in just a smidge here. There we go. And adjust my mic. Maybe this will pick me up a bit better. But gloves on. It's dirty. I don't know why I do a lot of things without gloves when you know, I could save my hands a bit. So this outside covering can come off. As a matter of fact, if you buy a replacement module, you'll have to take this off, put it on your new one. But there are just these tabs here that probably best to use a small flat tip screwdriver or something, but we can work those tabs out. Let me get a small precision set. Make this just a tad bit easier for myself. This one should work. Okay. There we go. It is off. I'll get that cleaned up here in a second, but I'm going to set it to the side for now. Alright, and I also need to take this cover off. We got several things that we need to take out. And we're going to do a bit of an inspection. So what are the things that I'm looking for? Well, I mean, this is motor driven, right? Spring loaded devices. Springs over time do loosen. Don't recommend trying to shorten up any springs that are inside of here. You're better off replacing if you got a bad spring, because it's just, once they're loose, unless you got a replacement spring per se, it's not good to cut them, shorten them, try to get them strong again. That could be a good temporary fix, but it's not a long-term solution. Depending on this motor, it can get weak over age, in which case you're better off replacing this whole thing, unless you can find the specific motor, but good luck. The other things I am looking for, well, obvious. Grime buildup is going to cause mechanical issues. And then if we have areas where the grime is built up around grease, that helps lubricate components so they can move freely. That is another concern. And so yeah, we can perhaps clean this up and get it working again, but it all depends on what we find when we take it apart. I'm already seeing one issue right here. We have basically a stop whether this is plastic or what, we'll find out here in a second, but basically a part of where the bar for the door, and it just fell out, where the bar comes in and pushes back in here to cause this to go back and lock. And this right here seems really stiff. This might be our big issue. I guess I shut the door a little too hard and potentially damage that piece right there. But once I get this apart, we'll know better what's going on and can do a better inspection. I got this thing disassembled and was playing around with the mechanics on this just a smidge here, and I think I figured out what the problem is just by me doing this back and forth. Let's get it up underneath a microscope. Okay, so just so we can orient ourselves a wee bit. So in my head, when I was taking this apart, what I was thinking is probably not a mechanical issue, more on the electrical side of things. You can see that we have the motor that's going to drive this. Popped it up a little tiny tad bit out of spot, but I can fix that here in a little bit. Motor, which is going to drive this. Here's our connector. We'll pin these out. But the issue, I think, is here. This switch, little micro switch, is actually canted upwards. And this one doesn't seem to serve a purpose other than to get in the way of this. I'm kind of thinking that whoever manufactured this put these in the wrong spot. So let me show you as I move this motor back and forth so you can see what I'm talking about. Right, here goes that front upper cog. Here goes the assembly there. Here goes this first reed switch, and you can see as it moves forward, it hits the lever, although this is canted upward, so it's hardly hitting it. And you can, maybe I need to take off my filters for a second. You can hear that clicking. Hold on one second. Okay, it's going to get a wee bit noisier, but hopefully the mic picks this up. So you can hear it hitting that first micro switch. Okay, now when it comes back, look at this second switch here. It's not supposed to work that way. That appears to be an issue to me. This actually needs to louver upwards, but it's got to travel a significant amount. Right to this point here, which is well above the line here, which makes me believe that this one was supposed to go here. So we will swap these things around, and I'll test out things on the board, clean things up, probably put a little bit more lithium grease down in the components here, but otherwise they look pretty good. They've been fairly well shielded from dirt and debris. So yeah, we'll swap these around. We'll get them into shape, and we'll see if this fixes the issue. It's amazing to me that it worked for a while. Actually, I replaced this 2017 or 2018. It was summer. I feel like it was late summer. Man, I think this was 2017. I put this into my vehicle either late 2017 or early 2018. Replacement part. Didn't give it much thought. Just swapped out the old one, put in the new one, but yeah, looking at it as is right now, this doesn't make logical sense to me. So we're going to change this and see if it fixes what we have going on. Okay, we're going to do a bunch of fast forwarding because after this first attempt at repairing, it actually doesn't work. So I take it back to the bench to try to think through it again, and come to find out the micro switch that I thought was in the wrong place was actually in the right place. When the clamshell is closed, the gear assembly, there's pressure on the gear assembly so that switch doesn't fall below it and get trapped. Now what actually does occur is there's a plastic piece underneath it that slides upwards as that gear assembly moves and pushes against the tab on that micro switch the appropriate way. So I needed to swap those micro switches back around. And secondly, in my head I'm thinking, well, because I had that gear assembly fully in one direction, let me try it, put it in the other direction, and then put it in the car, because maybe it needs to be at a different direction initially before install. Which brings us into the second test, and obviously I'm overlooking something at this point because this second test fails again. We'll pick up there and we'll pick up with what is the actual problem after the second test. So now I gotta undo all the work I previously did, but that's okay. We'll get it there, but again, the main intent of taking this back apart is because this was what's the best way to put this? This was right here, but this component right here was as far backwards as you could go. So when we start this again, I'm going to have it all the way to the front. And now that I've spent some time with it, it actually makes perfect sense. And most likely what was getting stuck is these components right here. You know, I bet this micro switch had a bit to do with it as well. But essentially, this is your lock, and as that motor is driven backwards, it pushes up on this, which engages, will stop this right here. But yeah, rather interesting bit of components. So I'm going to clean up some things around here as well prior to putting it all back together and re-grease everything. Alright, and here we go. Take number 2. Oh, let me plug it in. Okay. And we'll lock again. But no beep. Let's try the door doohickey. Is that because of my back door? Yeah, it's because of the back door. Still gotta take care of that one. But is this locked now? Nope. Nope, still not doing what it needs to do. Which tells me that that motor is probably, at this point, just not strong enough. But it was a good try, I guess. Yeah. Well, looks like I'll be going to the store and getting a replacement to finish this up. I guess it is what it is. Well, as far as the repair goes, it's kind of a failure. Luckily, local auto parts store has one that they can get in by 6:30 tonight, which is in roughly 2 hours. So I'll go and pick it up and swap it back in, and we'll close out the video. But something to be said, if this is like the bulk of my issues with a 17-year-old vehicle, it's kind of like, I was talking to a friend a little while ago. It's kind of like in human age years, about 40. It's the way I put it. We were talking about how we used to go out and do quite a bit of running. I participated in a lot of marathons. It was my great stress relief at the end of a duty day to get in at minimum 6 miles, and I used to do about 50 miles a week, on top of the the color me rads and all the other fun run type stuff. But as soon as I edged up to 40, I started to have some issues and got checked out by a doctor, and he basically said I don't have much cartilage left in my knees. He said they're not in the best of shape, and I said, just cut it. Explain to me in layman's terms what that means. To have good knees for my age, or what age group would you expect my knees be in? And he said the late 50s, 60s. So in order to fix the issue, that he had to shave away some cartilage, but he warned me I don't have a whole lot of cartilage left in the knees. So, but anyways, that kind of goes into what I'm trying to explain here with the car. Something about 20 years old is going to start having some issues, and I'm fortunate enough to have a car that, albeit no motor, no transmission issues, keep my fingers crossed there. It's served me very well. So might be a little bit weak in the knees, a little bit gripey, but she still putters on every single day. So I'll go get that car part. We'll get it in, and we'll close out this video. Okay, take 2. Let's see how this works. All right. So I'm just going to go bottom pins, both left and right side. And let's see what ohm reading we get. There we go. 0.1 ohm. 0.9. Guarantee you that's not right for a motor. Should be upwards, probably 100 ohms, if not more. Oh, make sure my camera doesn't fall. But yeah, let's check this one over here. It's been better if I had a camcorder out here on a tripod. Is what it is. Alright, bottom 2, And there you have it. Oh, 176 ohms. So obviously that's the failure part. Now, do I have motors about that size in the house? I do. However, will they be providing enough torque to actually supply the lock? I don't know. They also have different terminal posts on them for where they make their connections. So not quite sure if they would be a good substitute. Barring the back door and what's going on with it, you know, potentially could try it out. But let me get this one in the car and just swap over this one part right here and we can test it out. So yeah, let me get that one in the car. Okay, as soon as I plugged it in and I heard it, you can listen too. Nice strong motor. And even though the car's not beeping, that's because I still gotta take care of that back one. It is physically locked. So I'll get this put back together. We'll take a look at this one back here, see if it's the same issue. So unfortunately, the motors I do have on hand, the shafts are too short. The motors themselves are just a hair bit smaller than what is used in the actuators. So in lieu of testing this out, what I've done is I've just ordered a cheap $50, I think 50, 40 or 50 is what I spent online. Backdoor actuator, and if the parts ever fell again, since I have a spare, well, since I have the broken one, I won't throw it away. I can get the measurements off of the motor, see if I can't find something comparable online, and replace it then. If you'd like to see something like that, if it occurs again, let me know down in the comment section. Another keynote that you might not find if you are searching for similar videos. Before you put that trim piece back on, and before you put your cylinder back in, mine's already in. If you remember the little black tab thing that goes pulls the actuator on the inside, the thing down in there, let me turn on the light, come out ultra wide lens, there we go. Yeah, you see how I have that a little bit further down? The last one was almost towards the top. There are grooves. That's adjustable, and it's not just adjustable for how far you want your handle to come out. It's actually important to get that right in order to open your door once after it's been locked. So let's say I lock it right now, unlock it, go to open, that's good. But you want to test that before you put your key cylinder in and that paneling back on, because if your door doesn't open with that little tab reattached in there, then you probably need to adjust it backwards or forwards and then set it back in until you're doing this from lock to unlock every single time. Okay, so I wanted to jump in a second and kind of do a bit of a recap in light of the different things I've tried with the PCB and them not working out. You know, ultimately come to the conclusion that it is, you know, simply the motor as demonstrated. And you can actually find motors comparable, as you can see here on the internet. I did a part search for the part number JXF280-76. And yeah, so these 12 volt motors are available. And so I think it's worthwhile at least sharing that, or at least some comparable replacements or subs, right? However, you don't want one where the shaft has these spindles on them, or these gears or anything. What you really need is just, you know, a 12 volt DC motor with a 22 millimeter spindle or shaft. Okay. Now, if you see at the bottom here, when I hover over the image, the connectors where you're going to terminate your positive negative rail inside the actual actuator is a different setup on this one, but you know, you're talking about, you know, small modification, maybe cutting some wires, a little bit of soldering, and you could easily make that work so long as it still fits within the actuator. Everything closes up nicely, and the gears are all aligned inside the mechanisms that make the entire lock work. This is pretty easy, you know, fairly easy, I suppose I could say. And you would have something working. As a matter of fact, these motors themselves are, you know, you get a pack of like what, one pair, so I guess two for $9.81. So it's absolutely plausible to do this repair yourself, given the fact that I only have essentially a day, two tops to work on this. I couldn't wait for a part like this. I just went ahead and did what I needed to do to get my daily driver back functional and locking, so that way I could go out and get and start driving again, right? And not worrying about somebody opening up the doors to my car, etc., and taking something out of it, because we live in a world now where petty theft is more commonly practiced than it should be, and it's just a sad thing to say. Regardless, the back actuator that I bought online came in the very next day, so I was able to pop it in. That one being a $50 part. The lifetime warranty item that I bought at a auto parts store, obviously a lot more expensive, closer to $240 or whatever it was. You're paying for that lifetime warranty essentially. So if that one breaks, I just go in and swap it out for a new one. It is what it is. But yeah, they're in there and the car's locked right now. We can physically test this. Let's unlock. Right, you can hear that nice strong lock. They're both open. And we'll lock. There we go. Lights blinking instead of being a steady on. Both doors are locked, so hey, we're back off to the races, you know. And as I mentioned, you know, older car, but I'm going to keep it running for as long as possible, even if she's, some things are starting to break down here and there. I think it's well worth the expenditure versus outright having a used or new car payment over X amount of years and the interest and etc. So with all that being said, hopefully this video was informative for you, and I appreciate that you taking the time out of your day to watch. Hopefully this has helped you if you've had to do something similar. As always, this is Sean from HFR. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments section, give me your thoughts, similar thoughts on similar things, or just to say, hey man, you ramble on too much, but it is what it is. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. And then, for the business side of things, HFR, I add this into the business side of things, I guess. If you need a repair for your VW, Audi, etc., you don't have the tool sets to do this kind of thing, by all means, reach out to me to business. More than willing to help you out. All that being said, take care and goodbye.
Mark?